Question. You don't need a motion to start a meeting. Why don't you open the hearings?
I think the chairperson can just call the meeting to order.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the last one. I mean, it's fine, I wasn't gonna correct you. You can do it if you want. No, where did I get it from? I never did it before, I never did it. Okay, so I'm not there. Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the planning board meeting for December the 10th, 2024. Tonight we have, Dean is absent tonight, he's not feeling well, and we still have a vacancy for the planning board. So we do have a quorum here, 5 members, all right. All right, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for the boulevards, 117, 119, 121 Parkwood?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the boulevards is not here.
Should we call them in?
They're not coming, except they.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it is a public hearing, so we will hear from the public for the boulevards. If they have any more comments, they're not here to present tonight.
Okay.
So, any new comments from the public?
Not at this moment.
Okay, how about online?
I don't see any comments online. I don't see any hands raised.
Mr. Chair, we'll definitely have comments from the public, all caps, but we'll have you proceed with business first. Thank you.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
That was Hugo. I'm sorry. Hugo, can you-
As Hugo, also Tom's best friend, known as the friendly neighborhood immigrant, who has questions about Ms. Joyner's conflicts of interest. I defer to the members of the public who are present in the room to go first.
So no one in the room wants to speak. So if you're not ready to speak, we'll continue the hearing to next month.
Sure, why don't you guys proceed, and I'll chime in later once we've seen what you guys discuss.
Right, but just to be clear, the public hearing is gonna be continued to next month. So this is the opportunity to speak, and then we're gonna move on to another application
And you won't be able to speak about this application once we.
until January.
Till January.
But the comments are only restricted to matters referencing the applicant.
Correct.
That is super great. That's super helpful. Thank you so much for clarifying, the lady to the right of Ms. Joyner. So, sorry, I missed the intro because we were late into the Zoom a little bit later. What matters on front of the planning board right now?
It's the boulevard, 117,
119, 121 Fairview Avenue, 2 and 4 Parkwood Boulevard, and 1 Oakwood Boulevard.
Okay, so
It is
today we're discussing street development, is that correct?
I didn't
It's
understand.
hard to hear.
Yeah.
He says, so we're discussing street development, is that correct?
Street development.
That's what I believe you said.
I'm sorry to clarify, so my connection. So you're not discussing the Mill Street development today?
Not, that's,
Mill
we're on a
Street-
different application at the moment.
Because there's nothing discussed today.
No, no. Right now, the
Got it.
public comment is on the way this planning board meeting works. There's different applications. So you have to comment while that application is being discussed.
Okay. Got it. This is
We're
mostly
on
got it.
item 1.
That's super helpful. Then I won't waste your time. Ms. Joyner, I'm going to email you about your preferred delivery of service soon. And you've not responded to my previous email. So let me know if I should send it to another party or representative of yours. I'll also add that email in your inbox again tomorrow. Thank you so much. And please carry on.
Anybody else in the public want to speak online?
I don't see it.
Okay, can I get a motion to continue the public hearing for 117, 119, and 121 Fairview Avenue, 2 and 4 Parkwood Boulevard, and 1 Oakwood Boulevard, known as the Boulevard, until next month, January 14th, planning board meeting. 14th.
Well, you know what, I do actually have a question.
Okay,
So when we left the last meeting, they were going to, if my memory serves me, they were gonna provide, the planning for the surface of the, they were gonna identify and codify the planning of the surface for the, auxiliary parking lot. They were gonna provide the details on signage
lighting
and lighting.
Planting.
and planting.
And plantings.
So what the applicant has done is they've
proposed using, gravel
Right,
for the parking lot.
right.
They've also proposed doing, I think a single sign saying this parking lot's, permitted only. So each spot wouldn't necessarily be, signed.
They're not designated, they're open for spots.
Yes,
Okay.
they have proposed screening, pretty extensive screening along the, adjoining residential properties that look into it.
Mhm.
A mix of arborvitae's and,
You see, natural that's existing, or are they gonna plant?
sort of thing.
Okay.
So there's new arborvitae's and white birch. If you look at the plans that were submitted, there's pictures of what the trees will look like. The arborvitae's are a tall, they work for screening, green, evergreen tree. Deer love them.
What if you get the ones that,
There are some that are deer resistant, I don't know what this species is. They're not proposing any lighting, as part of the plan.
but they do need it.
So that's for the. planning board to
Lighting
discuss.
definitely was an issue, I drove down there, along with our chairperson, and the lighting definitely was an issue, it was dark back there.
But it was our understanding that that was gonna be for employees,
Yes.
and so,
It doesn't make a difference, employees need lighting too, I mean.
well, when doing working
Judy, can
hours,
you
it
just-
would be lit, you know, they've got.
The applicant know, so they can just listen, please. You guys, I know they're not here for this project, but since they're here, they should listen. Does anybody want?
Virginia.
Sorry, we did, I know you guys read it.
We did, I'm just trying to get what came in and what we want, just a clear delineation, what we're waiting for still from them.
We were just, some questions came up about North Street among the board. I mean, not North Street.
Boulevards.
Yeah, it was just about the last question, we had discussed lighting, you had articulated that, it was for employees, but there's still a concern that, even at
Lighting or parking?
lighting in the parking, in the supplemental parking lot.
Oh, we are not proposing lighting.
Yeah. There was a question about lighting, and at that particular time, I think you said that there would be enough lighting from maybe the poles or wherever it was coming from the street that would radiate into that parking lot, and that there would be enough, lighting there. However, when I drove down there, along with the chairperson, and we drove down twice, it seemed like the lighting was a little poor down in that area.
It was.
And I mean, especially if you've got employees that might be coming out of work, especially around this time of the year, around 4:30ish, 5, it starts getting dark. And there was a question about visibility there for them to see. So that was one of the things that, I was hoping that might be also looked at and addressed.
Okay, I mean, I know that our client doesn't want to propose lighting at that site. There's no minimum lighting requirements in the city code for parking lot.
But I guess our concern is that, let's say, if it's very poor light, but if the lighting is very poor, employees may not feel safe to go get their car, therefore will not utilize it, therefore they're parked on the street, and therefore the whole issue of having a supplemental parking lot then just doesn't become fulfilled, because they're not parking there, they're parking on the street.
Yeah, we went there and there, you cannot see anything entering
It's starting
into
to
that
be a
parking lot.
liability issue.
It's very dark.
Yeah, I mean, liability issues are a risk for our client and not the city, per se. So, yeah, totally recognizing that's a risk that the applicant is taking on.
Right, but it may change the behavior of the employee, of course, it may change the behavior, and they just may elect, like it was my wife, I'd say, no, don't park there, it's too dark, park in the street.
Right, yeah, I mean, my understanding is that it's currently used by, the neighboring tenants at its current lighting state. So that's kind of why we didn't.
Well, it's their
But they were
backyard.
also local, those people live in the area, they live right there. These
Right.
people don't live here, so they're unfamiliar with the area.
Right, but if they were an employee, they would be using it quite regularly.
But they're not like a member of the community, their house is not right there. So it's not like I'm gonna get out of my car and walk into my house. I'm in a relatively strange neighborhood, they work up the block. So now they're going around the corner into essentially a dark
Right, so from the lot to the site, they'd be walking on the city streets, which are.
Which are lit.
by city streets.
Right, but once they get to the parking lot, the concern is that it is pretty dark.
It
And
is.
it may present a kind of apparent peril that,
Deterrent.
and then people will be deterred from using it.
Sure, well, I can definitely bring this back to the client, talk it through with them, see how they would like to.
Yeah,
proceed.
tell them that we're asking for them to give us plans for lighting, downward lighting. Cause they did say it was lighted on a pole, but it doesn't resonate into that parking lot. That parking lot is dark. We went over there.
And the only little bit of light that did resonate to the park was from somebody else's, from the homes that were there, that happened to have a light in the back area. That's not, there's no guarantee for that either.
No, and that didn't even, that wasn't
It was
even
just
right
a little
enough.
Right,
Right.
yeah, I mean, again, I'll bring it back to them, I don't, this is also part of their decision making. I think part of why they didn't propose it was also, because it's in a residential neighborhood, they don't wanna create more lighting for the neighbors than it needs to be, but I'll
Yeah,
definitely
if it's
bring it back to
downgrade
them.
lighting, just to, show on the pavement, so when people are coming in.
Right, so I'll bring that back to them.
Another solution might be solar lighting, so you don't have to run an electrical line, and something that is maybe motion activated.
Mm.
So that it's, it has a specific duration, so a person can get in their car and get out.
Yeah.
How would they go?
So like, no electricity.
And there was a couple other things that the planning board had concerns with that were brought to my attention. One was, I know it's been discussed on the site, that there's 27 spaces. In one of the letters, I think, Charlie, you had mentioned that 20 of those spaces were for residents and 7 were for the office spaces.
If I did, that was a mistake. It's our understanding that all 27 spaces will be for residences.
Okay.
And the remote lot will be for the employees.
Okay, so if you could clarify that, back and forth, so that's.
I had that on my list of things to talk.
Okay, perfect. And then the other thing was, mark out of the spaces, the 13 spaces that are down in that lot, how is that gonna be achieved? And it was a gravel lot as far as lines.
What do you mean, how, like how will they paint it?
Well, how do you prevent cars from parking higgledy-piggledy so that they actually get 13 instead of 9? So
Yeah.
curb
We
stop,
showed the striping.
but it's gravel, so you're not actually.
on the gravel.
You can do
If
it.
you do it every week.
Yeah.
It's not gonna allow, it's not gonna
And if
allow.
it doesn't snow or rain.
So some of the potential options would be to put curb cuts,
Yeah.
or curb stops in front,
Mhm.
and just have 13 of those so that you know exactly where the spots are. Maybe signs or something
Yeah.
on each
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, I thought we could put the,
Don't believe I saw curb cuts, but
not a curb cut, curb stop.
curb stop, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we could put some, but, okay.
And then lastly, was gonna be some documentation for proof of perpetual, access or rental of the lot. So that we didn't have a situation where, 2 years from now, that lot was sold to someone else and it was not available.
Yeah, we talked about that at the last planning board meeting.
Yeah.
Exclusive lease agreement for those spaces.
Right, you gotta provide that.
Yep. Well, we typically, that's something we provide after approval when it gets reviewed by the planning board attorney. And once she's satisfied with it, we can,
Well, then, if we did approve it, it would be a condition,
Yep.
of,
Right,
okay.
Would be a condition, and in this case, they're saying maybe it won't be perpetual, and so maybe we need to have some kind of. If it's not going to be perpetual, if they're unwilling to provide that, we may need to put something on the site plan that says, if parking ever becomes unavailable, site plan automatically voided, so that there's.
If it's not gonna be perpetual.
And what does that mean? If the site plan, let's say 3 years from now, site plan was voided, what would that mean?
I know, the space is continuous, so it makes it pretty hard, we'll have to think through how this actually works.
I mean, as a penalty, that could be then imposed,
yeah, it would
An
be
annual
penalties related
penalty.
to site plan violations.
yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to the leases other projects have for parking spaces in municipal parking lots.
Gotcha, okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Anything else?
I mean, there's just, we have a negative declaration drafted. One of the outstanding issues was just DOT.
Mhm.
And so the applicant was working to pull together the responses to DOT's last letter.
Yeah, and, we had, I think you had forwarded, the latest response from the DOT that came in today. So happy to talk through that, you know, over the next month, since I know we'll get a full agenda items there, but absolutely appreciate all this feedback now, so we can make sure we
keep going.
get all the great, you know, the important stuff next time.
Gotcha.
And so, can I get a motion to continue this meeting to January 14th?
The public hearing.
Continue the public hearing to January 14th.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to note for the record as well that they did, Lynn did, advise that she republished with the additional address for the lot.
She did, okay.
So, that has been done.
Okay, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for Mill Street? Lost.
I make a motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, are there any questions from the public? Mill Street is not here. The developers, so is there any questions from the public?
I guess we're wondering, are you gonna take a vote on the fourth story tonight?
No,
Those are the comments that I heard.
But we can hear them.
we can hear the comments, but we're not taking a vote.
Okay,
You have any comments?
yeah, we do, on the
Okay.
fourth story thing.
Okay, you can stand and if you would for us, give us your name and your address, so.
Dave Gilbert, 220 Elm Street. So the topic at hand is the fourth story. I understand you'll be voting soon, if not tonight.
Right, we're voting on the variance, yeah.
I want to remind the board of a few things related to the density of this project. The first is that the neighborhood, the 11 residences on Mill Street are universally opposed to this project. We wrote a letter, all residents signed it, it's in the public record. The number one objection in that is to density. The project as it stands would increase the density, the total neighborhood density by more than 600%. And the neighborhood feels that that's totally unacceptable and out of line with development happening in other places in the city. The fourth story on the building is one of the contributing factors, and it's the thing in, you know, most in the planning board's control. That fourth story is what takes the project from 60 units, which is what was originally approved by the common council, to 70 units. So it's a way in which this project is part of the original intention. It's also what makes the project very close to the total limits allowable by the neighborhood, which is 44 feet. When you factor in the amount of fill that's being brought in to raise the total structure, that's 8 feet of fill, so a 44 plus 8 feet, 54 feet is effectively over that limit. The lot is totally maxed out in terms of its density and has extremely limited parking, especially relative to other developments that are under review or recently approved. Far less than one parking spot per resident. And I understand on other projects like on the boulevard, that's been a significant issue. So bringing the total scale of the project down by really any amount, but particularly from that third story to fourth story would better right size this project, allow for a better ratio of parking to residents, a better fill out of the lot. And I just want to be really clear, no one on Mill Street is opposed to affordable housing. We have some extremely successful affordable housing. That's not what our opposition is about. It's fully opposition to density and some of the water related issues that we've laid out in comments previously. So I just really urge the planning board to take this opportunity to vote against that fourth story, bringing this project back within the original scope, better fit with the neighborhood. You know, it would still be a major victory for affordable housing in the city, but a much better fit for the neighborhood overall.
And just a question, when you say density, your concern for the density is what? The number of people that are gonna be on the block? Like you're just saying, essentially, it would be, the difference between the fourth floor and the third floor is 10 apartments? I'm just trying to get where.
I believe it's somewhere between 10 and 20 apartments.
And in each building.
that's on the table for that fourth story.
Okay.
The opposition to density, I think, has many facets to it. One is neighborhood function. Right now, this neighborhood, which is a distinct neighborhood, we know each other as neighbors, it's a very neighborly place, like where people's kids play in the street, they ride the strollers, people walk dogs, it's very much a neighborhood, and that neighborhood character is going to be extraordinarily altered by this project. I don't think any reasonable person would argue with that statement. So from that perspective, the increase in density, affects all of us greatly and effectively, totally changes it from a suburban neighborhood to an urban neighborhood. The density issue also relates to traffic and pedestrian safety. It's a 20-foot wide dead end road. And I understand that concern has also come up a lot with the Boulevard project, that there was a major concern with access and road width. And that road width, I understand, is 22 feet, and that's a 30-unit building that was being proposed, and it's not a dead end street. So we have a dead end street, it's 20 feet wide, people have to park on one side, there's very limited parking down there. And we have a park at the end of the street that existed, so it's constantly lined with cars on one side. And it's a New York State Empire State Trail, which is a pedestrian, statewide pedestrian and bike trail. So people ride their bikes, walk their dogs, walk their strollers in the middle of the street, on a street with no sidewalks. So we have, it's like a strolling path, and it's recognized as such. So if you bring 70 more units into that space, especially with limited parking, but even without, you have 70 more cars going in and out, turning around in a dead end street. It's a huge issue for.
Well, you're not talking about the 70 cars, you're talking about the difference between, ostensibly the difference between the 20 more apartments, 20 more people, let's say.
Sure, I'm basically saying that any reduction is, in my opinion, 35 units is the right number for our street. If you had a 35 unit building proposed in front of you, none of us would be here. It's not an opposition to development at large or to affordable housing, it's an opposition to an extraordinary change in density on a street that just has no infrastructure for it. No sidewalks, no turnaround, 20 foot wide, parking on one side of the street, park at the end that has no parking in and of itself, and I understand is potentially going to be redeveloped for further traffic in the future. So we just don't have the infrastructure to fit 70 units down in our street.
I'm just trying to understand exactly where the objections lie, and is screening something, because as we discussed in that project, that's something that would make the community of the neighbors more comfortable plantings in front so that the building wasn't as,
I think
or
every
that
step,
doesn't matter, I'm just really looking at.
every step, the planning board should do its absolute best in every way to try to right size this project and limit the impact on the neighborhood, which again is extraordinary. You can imagine a 600% increase in your neighborhood. That's extraordinary.
Understood.
I don't think small improvements like adjustments to screening or placement or downlighting, et cetera, like all those things should be on the table. We want the best outcome possible for this project. Can't fully stand in its way, but reducing the density by any amount is going to contribute to right siding for the neighborhood. And that might make the difference of having that parking runoff that fully clogs the street and prevents emergency vehicles from getting through.
They have proposed a turnaround-ish at the end. I've suggested.
At the end of the street or within the building?
At the end of the street.
Oh.
And I've suggested that they, actually do a full-blown cul-de-sac,
If it, right,
to allow for turnaround.
Well,
in
would
the
that
back.
have to go utilize the park?
no,
No, it could utilize the area that they,
right,
Not a lot.
yeah.
I've drawn a sketch and I've given it to
And
them.
we've been there, it is known to do that. As a matter of fact, when we went down there, people were parked, had like extra vehicles and some type of trailer.
RV.
No,
Like a commercial
No,
trailer,
it
like
was a hitch for food, like a vending and. right,
a concession
parked at the
trailer.
end of the street,
Yeah.
like, and that didn't belong to, that area is not belonging to anyone. Plus, there were a lot of cars.
Just one for instance,
Every house in that area has a driveway,
not every house in that area has a driveway.
the ones we saw.
220 does not have any driveway.
And where is that, the second or third house
It's a
in?
pinch point in the street where the road cannot be widened on either side.
Is that when you first come in?
No, it's maybe fourth street, third, fourth house.
So there's one home that doesn't have a driveway.
1 out of 11, yeah.
Yeah, well, we might probably miss that one, because there was a lot of cars parked all over the place.
but everybody had a driveway that looked like it could fit at least 2 cars.
They can,
Yeah, looked like it could fit, I said at least 2.
but we all have kids.
I ain't saying, we all have more than 1 car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and people have done street run businesses as well, those trailers are
Exactly,
very well.
that's what we
loved
noticed,
business.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Any more comments from the street?
My name's Josh and I live on Mott Street, Josh Gay.
Who's phone?
I have a problem with this thing. You know, you're essentially gonna be robbing us of the sunlight that we've become used to. That tall of a building, I mean, it's gonna be essentially a 5-story building with the fill that they bring in. Correct?
The back building is actually being cut in. So they're cutting the back building in. The front building, the max fill that is under the building is 4 feet. So it's really not a 5-story building.
Damn close to it.
It's maybe 49 feet. And right now they're proposed to be, I think, 45 feet.
Right.
So they're under the height requirement that it could be, even if they did a 3-story building. They could do a 3-story building and, still be 45 feet, same height they're proposing.
How about that hill in back of them?
The hill in back of them,
Yeah, the part that comes up in the back.
that's where they're putting the building. The building's actually a ways off the road.
Right.
It's probably set back 60 to 70 feet.
Oh,
So I think to say that it's going to block your sunlight is being disingenuous.
right, because the hill goes up that.
I don't. I mean, the hill robs us of 2 hours of daylight that you guys get up
But
here.
that's my question, is it gonna be higher than that?
No, it's not gonna
That's
be
what
higher
I'm
than
saying,
that.
it's not gonna be higher than the hill, that's there now.
That height of that hill.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Any more comments from the public?
Yeah, just to clarify the fill thing, I looked at the excavation plan today, it's a grade from 12 feet to 16 or so. So some of it is 4, some of it is 8, the buildings are set to start at 20, they go up to 45, up to 65, which is a 45-foot building. So my question to the board is 45 feet of height limitation appropriate? Is this project appropriate when 45 feet is the height limitation, but they are adding 8 feet of fill at the most on the western side?
I think it's within the code.
But it is within the
Yeah,
code.
it's within the code.
So the code is just talking about the building.
Correct. It talks about your mean elevation of grade to your top of your building.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. My comment is not about the substance, I think both of my friends here have addressed it, I agree with my wife on everything in life, of course. I appreciate, the time that you gave us last month to review this law and review the plans that enact this law. I took the time to read everything, and I wanna share with you what I learned. Okay, so as I understand, normally the issue of a 4th story, which exceeds the zoning limitation, would go to the ZBA because it's a variance. They need special permission to build higher than the zoning allows. But in the city of Hudson, we have something called incentive zoning, which gives something called a density bonus. If the developer commits to making this apartment complex affordable in perpetuity by a deed restriction, then the planning board has the authority to grant the 4th story. That's what I understand is happening here. They've agreed to do that, the planning board will vote yes or no. So I read that law. It says, in awarding a density bonus, the planning board shall make a written determination with findings stating how the benefit of the deed restriction will further the purposes of the comprehensive plan and the local waterfront revitalization plan. That's the plan that enabled, and this incentive zoning was passed in the same month, November of 2011. So the current comprehensive plan goes all the way back to 2002, being updated right now, but the one that's been approved by the common council goes to 2002. The local waterfront revitalization plan, that was prepared and passed and adopted by the common council in 2011, along with the incentive zoning. I looked up both those plans. Your findings are supposed to refer to those plans and be consistent with those plans. Okay, comprehensive plan. If you go to page 58, the subject is Parks and Recreation Improvements. There is a picture of this parcel as a softball field, And underneath it, it says the proposed uses in the city of Hudson for park and recreation are improving the passive recreation facilities at the Mill Street play area. And it has a picture of the Mill Street play area with a softball field on it. That's from 2002. Okay, then I looked at the local waterfront revitalization program plan from 2011, and it says that Charles Williams, I'll show you the map, I have a copy for everybody, but it indicates the north side of Mill Street as Charles Williams Park, and it indicates the south side of Mill Street as Charles Williams Park, this park. It shows them in the color green, and it identifies them as recreation and open space. And this is the proposed land, figure 20, the proposed land use map, according to the local waterfront revitalization program. So you have, again, the parcel being identified as open space and recreation, that's the proposed use of this parcel. And then in figure 24, it also shows the two parcels on both sides of the street, north and south. North is where the playground is right now, and the pavilion south is the ball field that's closer to the development. It shows them both as being Charles Williams Park. So I share this with you because it's important to your findings that you need to vote on in order to approve this fourth story. Obviously, I oppose the project at its scale and density, you all know that. For the reasons that we're just talking about, it's too large for our neighborhood. Anything you can do to make it fit the neighborhood is welcome. But I think that there's also a procedural problem that you will be forced to reckon with right now, that you have to find that your vote on this is consistent with these plans. And these plans, albeit them 15 years old and 22 years old, but still currently effective, identify this parcel as a park, recreation space, open space, and moreover, they propose that this parcel remain park, recreation, and open space. And you've heard me say it before, but there's a restriction in the deed for this parcel that it would be given to the city for park and recreation and open space or else. So I just want to present that information to you so you understand when you're looking at taking this vote, that that's currently what the city government wants to do with this parcel.
But I'm sorry, in the beginning, because I had to do something technical.
Yeah,
I missed it. You were reading from what document?
the first thing I read from was the incentive zoning law,
Okay, yeah,
section 325-28.2, which is what allows this fourth story vote to take place.
yeah,
And it says your findings in approving it, yes or no, you have to make a written determination, so I suppose there's a resolution that we voted on.
Yeah.
And the specific findings have to state how the fourth story will further the purposes of the comprehensive plan and local waterfront revitalization plan.
right, that's right.
Those two plans that I was just talking about.
But those plans, if I'm correct,
Yeah,
were not adopted.
The comprehensive plan is adopted, but the LWRP was not.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
okay, that one's not been adopted. by
Well, so
council.
it's more complicated than that.
yeah. It's a working thing, that's it.
Adopted by the state, but it's adopted in a way that defines the subject area as being a map on file with the state, that was
Oh,
never finalized with the state.
they adopt the boundary, but the contents of the.
So I mean, if we can talk offline, I can explain, but suffice it to say, the LWRP we've used it in the past as recommendations.
Okay,
And that's what you're doing right now.
I'm recommending, yes, that the people who put great effort into preparing a 200-page document for how the city should implement its zoning and programming, follow this plan.
But it's not law, that's my whole point though.
What?
It's not a law.
Well, it is, the incentive zoning is a law.
The incentive zoning is the law, but it refers to something that has not been wholly adopted.
Well, the comprehensive plan has been adopted.
And the LWRP exists as a document that you have to refer to, so whether it's been adopted by common council or not.
When were the houses down there built? 2008? I just wanted to, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
I have copies of everything.
You can send that in online and we can put it in multiple, so everybody
Sure.
can see it, okay?
Sure.
All right, thank you. Any more comments from the public? Okay, any comments
Yeah,
from the
I
public?
have one, Mr. One observation and one question.
Hold it, who's talking? First, we need to know your name.
Sure. Well, you actually don't, according to New York open laws. This is Hugo. I am Tom's best friend, the friendly neighborhood immigrant. And I have one observation and one question. The first observation is there is a clear double standard in how you are dealing with this project and other projects in the city. And I am concerned that your double standard, which is very clearly evidenced in your decisions and in your review of the evidence and the law, will lead to extensive litigation that will be bad for the young developer and for the city of Hudson. And I urge you all to look very carefully at how you formulate this decision, because I'm furthermore concerned that your personal liability might come into play when you have made wrongful determinations, knowingly given certain conflicts of interest. Now, you guys might disagree with this, but I think this is going to be a very long road, and I'm worried about the developer losing money and the city of Hudson paying more legal fees to its expensive lawyers. So that's my observation. And then my question, Ms. Joyner, just for you, I also believe you're the Federal Fair Housing Director, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
did not request that here, sir, so the questions are to the application at hand, which is Mill
Great, I'm
Street.
happy to address into the application. So
Okay.
some of the decision makers in this application has a conflicted role between the Federal Fair Housing Director role, which is an ombudsman type role against developers, and then chairing this meeting, which is making decisions that could benefit developers. And that conflict constitutes an issue for this planning board. Do you care to comment on it, any of you?
No, I will not.
Okay,
No.
well, we will meet each other then via lawyers soon. Have a wonderful evening, Ms. Joyner.
You too. Okay, he's not there. Anybody else on, the website that wants to talk? Anybody else online that wants to talk?
Don't see any
You
hands.
see any
I don't
hands?
see any hands, but still.
I don't-
Can't speak up.
If you're online and you wanna say something, the next person, please speak up. Okay. Okay,
Can I just ask for, I know you told the gentleman that he can put it online, you know, so that we
Oh,
can
that's
see.
it.
I do like a hard copy of that.
oh, sure, if you have one
have
for us.
Since
I'll
you
take
said you
one.
already have it,
Yeah.
that would help me visually and then needing to print stuff out.
Randall, is there anyone online that wants to speak? That's about to go to the next.
No,
Okay. All right, can I get a motion to continue this public hearing until January 14th, our next
Thank you, Mr.
planning board meeting
Here you go.
for Mill Street? Can I get a motion? Continue
Make motion.
Mill Street? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. Now we have new business. Our new business is 41-43 North 7th Street. Our restaurant here to present. You're not here for that? Is there anyone, how about online? Is a Thai restaurant online?
not that I can
41-43 North 7th Street.
Does not appear to be.
Hmm?
Does not appear to be.
Okay, so what do we do with them?
Just put them over to the next one.
Okay, well. I don't need a motion for that, do I? Nope. Okay. Okay, we'll hear them in January then.
No, we need a motion to close it.
No public hearings.
It's no business. But they didn't come. Okay. Now, old business. 724-726 Columbia Street. And we have,
Good evening, Charlie Gottlieb with Whiteman Option and Hannah, Land Use Council for Galvin Initiatives Foundation.
can I ask you a question on it? Now, when they say applicant, is that you or is it Galvin's foundation?
The applicant is Galvin.
Okay.
Yep. And the property owner as well.
Cause I have you as the applicant, so I'm gonna change that.
Okay, yeah.
All right, 'cause
No,
you
I'm
signed the,
not, I'm not building anything.
but you signed the application.
I have too many horror stories of
Yeah.
development, interest in pursuing.
Okay, go ahead.
Charlie Gottlieb, land use counsel for the applicant, here with Jen Crawford, our project civil engineer. And I believe Walter Chatham may be on Zoom, he's our project architect.
Here's one, do
We're also here with Josh Moon representing Galvin, who can provide some insight into operations.
I want to ask a question, what were you doing in there? You were doing some work, so that you opened up the windows and stuff, what were you doing?
Your current work, I believe, is all done through a building permit, Josh?
I know, but what was it? What did you do?
I don't know, Josh, you want to talk about the current work that's being done?
That you did already?
Change the windows.
Yeah, you put windows in, because it wasn't windows before, right? Or it was boards up?
There was an opening there from previously broken window that we just repaired. We were doing work previously under, previously approved building permit that had no change in use. And then, once we updated the plans, see there we break, sent us here, we pretty much stopped
Yeah.
work.
That, cause I saw things being done, and I had asked Greg, and he said it had nothing to do with.
So I can jump in. We're basically, we're doing the.
Walter, is that you?
Hi, sorry,
Okay.
Walter Chatham, hi. We're basically finishing up the exterior of the building, the roof, the outside is, Josh says, new windows, new doors, basically securing it. There was not a proper fire separation between us and the gas station to the east, so that's all been built. And now we're awaiting planning board approval to build out for a use that we're asking for.
That's where I come in.
Okay.
So we were here, I think, a couple months ago, just to get some preliminary thoughts on the project. Essentially, what we are doing is renovating existing floor area within this building that is shared with Return Brewing. That existing vacant floor area is about 9,850 square feet,
The whole building.
or the whole building is?
No, the whole building's about 14.
So, 9,850 square feet. And the hope is to renovate it from a vacant, kind of abandoned use into a theater, assembly hall, and restaurant space. There is no new floor area being added. There's no additions to the building being added. We're using existing floor area. We've provided a project narrative. That was one of the board's main comments, is how is this going to operate? So one of the main questions was, down the road, you could throw a stone to it, was the Hudson Forum, the theater project that we were here
Yeah.
about years ago. So that project is not going to be constructed at this moment. There are, financing problems, so forth, and so this is a precursor to that. So essentially, the theater operations that might have been overambitious for the Hudson Forum are going to start out in this project space.
But if we already approved the theater, and that's a question for you, and now we're coming along, we're approving another theater, would that allow?
Theoretically, you
theaters?
could have two theaters.
So the subdivision plan, the lot line adjustment plan that went with the Hudson Forum,
Mhm.
that's since expired. We got 2 extensions for that, there's no more extensions, so that lot line adjustment to facilitate that former theater,
Mhm.
that can't be filed anymore. We would have to come before this board for reapproval of that.
So you would have to come to get reapproval of the theater.
Correct.
Columbia
With the expansion,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Would you do
So,
a theater without the expansion there, another one there?
no,
It would be
there are no
an
plans.
application.
Yep,
I just wanna make sure we don't get ourselves into having two theaters, not even a block apart.
no, completely understand. And, theoretically, this would be a change in circumstances. Those previous site plans for the Hudson Forum, they were never signed by you,
No,
they were never
not.
filed, there were never building permits issued, none of that. So the theater that will be here is a smaller scale. The theater area, and Walter chime in if I'm wrong, would be approximately 4,800 square feet. The kitchen and bar and food area would be approximately 2,100 square feet. Now, the building itself could potentially accommodate up to 300 people.
That's a
right,
good
use
issue,
and
occupancy, okay.
The entire building.
The a portion of the building that we are here to seek approval for. But in reality, there will be approximately 75 to 150 movable seats for this theater. So it's not expected at every event, there's gonna be 300 people, but that is essentially the occupancy, maximum occupancy of the building. The operations, the theater operations and assemblies would be approximately 3 to 4 times a week. Certainly, there's no time, there's no way to tell how it would be rented and when it would be rented, but the programs would be in the mid-afternoon into the late evening. Obviously, one of the questions was off-street parking. This board has heard me in the past, no off-street parking is required by the zoning code. But realizing you wanted to see some off-street parking, we provided a parking and traffic assessment from Mark Naldini, who's a traffic engineer, who's been before this board several times. And essentially what he concluded was, again, this is a precursor to the Hudson Forum.
Good.
So that parking that was designated and has been designated every project since as being used by the Hudson Forum will now be utilized by this
Okay.
project.
That's gonna have to show in the plan.
And you're talking about street parking, we're gonna review the report.
Okay,
Yep, and it has all of his numbers in there and on-street municipal lots and so forth.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna say,
Yes, I
that
know.
include the on-street and the municipal lot down the one block away.
Correct, and it still maintains with the project constructed an 89% occupancy rate of parking spaces. So parking is delicate and I've learned way too much of it over the years, but one of the things you don't want is a lot of unused parking spaces. And one of the things you don't want is you can't find enough parking. The sweet spot is in the 85 to 95% occupancy range of the parking's being utilized. There are still some spaces with leftovers. We went through that review process when we did the depot district. So with the project, there would be about an 89% occupancy rate of available on-street parking and municipal spaces.
would that include the new things that have come since the depot district?
Yeah, so Mark's traffic assessment did, I think starting with Depot District, Hudson Forum, Little Debs is still in there, Pocketbook Factory, all those
And the
projects.
return to brewery? that-
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. But because you will admit that there is the possibility for congestion on a summer night, let's say on a summer Saturday night, where you would be holding an event, the Thai restaurant is open, Upper Depot, Return Brewery, and the whole business district that's occurring now, in addition to all the residents.
Yeah, I think that's a question for our traffic engineer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We can have him
I
give the
look
next
at that, make sure.
Well, what I would say is, some call it congestion, some call it a vibrant urban atmosphere.
And some call it,
It is.
some call it a nuisance to them.
True, but and we also have to remember context, right? So we have the theater here, and it is expected that local residents are gonna be utilizing this theater. And so you have the Depot District right there within walking distance. You have people that might be doing both. They might be going to the brewery, to other restaurants, to Little Deb's, to the Thai place, having dinner, and then, going to see a show or whatever the case may be. So there is a lot of like double counting, as far as parking spaces go. But in related to the congestion, not only was our assessment a parking assessment, but it was also a traffic assessment.
Okay.
I did have a few questions. I know typically Columbia Street is usually frequented by, like heavy vehicles like trucks. And so the traffic assessments account for the impact that, the movement of commercial vehicles would have, on the congestion or on any potential hazards that are posed by, trucks doing their deliveries. Cause I typically drive along Columbia Street and it's kind of tight, and then you usually have trucks coming, so I don't know if that was also accounted for.
Yeah, I believe it was. We can have the traffic engineer really narrow down into that. But essentially, when they do these types of assessments, you have an existing condition of tight turning movements, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And that, the finding was that this project's not gonna make that any worse. But I can, we can specifically ask Mark to evaluate that and address that question.
And also the trucks are turning now, they're turning at the potholes, but.
And also, and were there any, was any like emergency preparedness taken into account? Let's just say there is any sort of like, let's just say the theater is constructed, let's just say there's an emergency where it has to be evacuated. Kind of I mean, heaven forbid, would patrons be able to evacuate safely without causing any, like hazards to, residents in the surrounding areas who may not be there for that purpose, but I think can create like a potential bottleneck, so.
Sure, so, is that related to like traffic or more
Or like, yeah,
building
like,
fire
yeah,
code
emergency
being
fire
able to
code.
access? Yeah, so Walter, feel free to chime in, but the building will have to be renovated. And of course, to renovate it, it will have to meet New York State's most recent building and fire code. And so all that stuff would be taken care of. In addition, yeah.
We have 6 exits planned for the building to get people out of the building. Once they're out of the building, there are plenty of sidewalks to carry them away. The central fire station is 1.5 blocks away. The hospital is 3 blocks away. So, and there aren't a lot of residential neighbors around this, so it's kind of an ideal place for something like this to occur from a safety and a public standpoint.
You said they are or not a lot of residential neighbors.
I said there are very few residential neighbors in that exact area. It's sandwiched between the gas station, the old building that Jen's office is across the street. It's mostly a commercial area, I think. The Depot Bar, the brewery.
Yeah, but right behind the Depot Bar, people would say 250, 300 feet is the building that constructed with is what, 70 apartments?
Right, not only that, there's another apartment house building where they're gonna have maybe, I think, 5 apartments right on 7th Street. Right there facing
Right
the
next to
park,
Long
right.
Valley.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm just saying, that it's not gonna
Yeah, no, you're
immediately
right,
affect
in a
those
way.
people.
Oh, sure, that it's not a heavy.
Most sides, there's one side that.
It's one side, yeah, exactly, but those.
Most sides about commercial uses.
The next aspect that has changed since the last time we approved this board was, and Jen will walk through this, is behind the building where Long Alley meets, is it Columbia? Columbia, there's a weird traffic pattern here.
Okay, let me,
We can bring this up, so we talked
do you have
about
the
this.
streets on that?
So before Jen gets into it, what I'll say is,
Oh, thank you.
Jen has met with, I believe we've met with the mayor's office, and we've also met with Mr. Perry from the Department of Public Works. And I believe the goal is to do a lot line adjustment here with the city.
To close off that entrance coming from 7th Street.
So what it is going to do is, right now, the traveled way is across Galvin property. So.
If you came through that alleyway, you're saying,
Correct,
but I don't think people travel through there, do they? But they can.
they can.
They do.
Okay, so the thing is that they can.
So what we'll do is the lot line adjustment will make the traveled way permanent so that the city would retain ownership of how the cars are currently moving.
Correct.
So here,
That I don't get.
So this portion of the property here is currently owned by Galvin. The actual road right of way comes through the building and straight in front
Go
and
straight from the building.
discharges here.
Yeah, but I don't think,
It's not how it actually,
right, because see.
it's a paper road.
On paper, that's.
Oh, because there's a parking spot right there, how did they get out?
They don't.
Exactly.
So currently, they use the road, they come out here and turn and come out.
But that's not,
I
that
didn't see
doesn't
that.
match what the ownership is.
Okay, great.
So we're going to basically make the plans match that. They're gonna do a lot line adjustment to give a piece of 724 to the city in exchange for the city abandoning the end of Long Alley that doesn't get used, it can't get used currently.
That's
Okay.
okay, everybody got that? Caitlin, did you have one question?
And also, there'll be, is there the island review? Perfect.
So yeah, let's just walk it up a little closer so folks can see. What we are proposing is to, move the lot line to, here. And then, so all this hatched area would be the revised Galvin property. And then, this area along the side of this building, would be the revised city right of way. So, we proposed this version of it to, rather than using the existing curb cut, kind of at the suggestion of the DPW, because what we didn't want to do is leave this islanded piece of property right here that wasn't connected to anything.
But that would be mainly for emergency vehicles, not just regular traffic.
Well, Long Alley is used by garbage trucks, by
Okay,
people
garbage
going down
trucks.
Long Alley. I mean, it's Long Alley, people use it, it's just not that much. Yeah, and so we're working with, I mean, we also, I believe it was brought up at the informal meeting of the common council on Monday,
Oh,
so.
so I need to include them. They need to approve.
Yeah, so we're like Charlie said, we're working with the common council
Okay.
and the DPW superintendent, to sort this out and bring kind of a plan that already has consensus and approval from the common council, for a lot of.
And I'm glad you explained about, what are you gonna be doing with the forum now? So that was a major concern.
Yes. Understandable. And I know we can get into questions and comments, but quickly, Christian, I know you had a comment about secret. So it is my understanding that my belief is a type 2 action for 2 reasons. One is initially I considered it a type 2 action because we are not adding floor area or new floor area over 4,000 feet. But there's also another type 2 classification where it's the reuse of an existing vacant commercial property building without any construction or expansion around the interiors.
There is construction, because that was a tire. I wish Dean was here. Anybody know what is that?
You're saying new construction, new,
Yeah, it was
Like, we're not taking down a wall and building out another wing.
right.
Everything that will be done will be in the four
In my
corners.
opinion, that's a generous interpretation of it.
Yeah.
It's basically when you're renovating anything over 4,000 square feet, it throws you out of the type 2.
I respectfully, I very much so disagree in that, Victoria, I think.
Do we need, a decision on that?
So I'm going to avoid the conflict on the interpretation and just say because it involves a flat line alteration, it's gonna trigger the unlisted action. Because it is, changing the city right of way.
Okay, I mean, again, I disagree,
So-
but what we can do is,
Okay.
I can, if it's okay with the planning board, I can provide Christian and Victoria with some support as to my position. And
I
can
mean,
get that-
I'm not commenting on the 2 that you said, I'm actually saying because you're changing the right of way and doing the subdivision, that triggers the unlisted action. And we have a resolution prepared tonight to classify it and circulate and get that going, but if you want us to hold off for another month, that is your choice.
As an unlisted action.
So I guess I'm failing to see where the lot line adjustment itself triggers
The
secret.
subdivision is unlisted.
It's unlisted, but there's no development being proposed there that would trigger anything, so there's no environmental
You can't
impact
just,
from the lot line
just
itself.
approve a subdivision without classifying it and doing it secret.
So I suppose to get things done,
Okay.
we're happy with that. The only thing that is prejudice to the application is the planning board has historically taken the position that it has the ability to require off-street parking because of the secret process. And so if we're now saying, sure, let's go through a secret process, then the planning board has the ability to really dig into the parking issue.
But you said you were going to take the parking that we had.
We are, I just, there's some things I have to say for the record. So, certainly, we can classify it as unlisted, but it's the applicant's belief that it remains type 2.
Do you have any
So, what are you
precedent,
saying?
you have any prior precedents in the city that exemplifies your point?
Not in the city, but the secret handbook lays it out pretty well. But again, I don't know if we have to get into that discussion. If the planning board to classify it as unlisted, I don't think that's gonna ruffle too many feathers.
Okay, so you're willing to take the unlisted? So we can get that done tonight.
Yeah, if the planning board wants to make that motion, you're more than welcome to.
Guys, you wanna make the,
So I have a resolution which I will read if you're ready to do that.
So
Or
you
you
classify.
wanna finish presenting the project, though?
I don't have other things, I mean, we just received the engineering comment letter, we need some time to go through it, we'll bring responses next month. But I don't have other things that I think we need to discuss right now.
Walter, one of the Christian's comments, I think was a good one, was elevations. So did the planning board want to see elevations, perspectives of the building of any sort?
Absolutely.
Yeah. They should be need this.
So-
Oh, yeah, you need, I call it something else. Right, I call it, please. They call
So
it
we already have, sorry, we had presented to HPC the outside of the building in order to get permission to do the exterior work. And so I'm happy to share those with the board. I guess, Charlie, I'll send them to you and you distribute them if you think it's appropriate.
Yeah, we'll upload it. in.
Thank you. Okay, so, any more comments?
The planning board wanted to schedule the public hearing on this. I didn't know if there were any wild. Okay, is there any information that is outstanding that you would like to hold off from the public hearing, just so we can provide it in our next round and be ready at the next meeting?
A couple things that you had mentioned, need to be in writing about the parking for, to transposing it to this project.
That was in our cover letter and in the traffic report.
That was,
Yeah.
It wasn't a, cover letter that they were abandoning the forum project.
but it didn't say it
Not
was
formal.
transferred. It said abandoning the project, but it didn't say what he was saying.
Well, it's the analysis, so,
Okay,
right, the analysis that you approved the Hudson Forum at one point
right,
based on your review. And they're
Right.
saying that now, that review, you should just transfer those spots because it's nearby.
okay, so
The
that's.
ones that you found are available, but, you can read the reports and you may have questions, read it.
Yeah, I do.
Is there any sort of handicap accommodations?
Within the building, it would be, Walter, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be required to be ADA accessible.
100% accessible has to be. It's a public theater.
And as for parking, no, it's,
So, I mean, we could ask if you
I'm
want
just
the city
curious.
to create a handicap space on the street, but you only have to provide handicap spots when you're providing off-street parking. So in the absence of any off-street parking, there's no requirement to provide an ADA spot. And Walter, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but.
That's correct. I've
Yeah,
seen
okay.
that.
I'm just
That's
thinking,
right, yeah.
it's gonna be community related, it's probably gonna be people, older people that
They
need
don't
to
have
get
a
in there
legitimate handicap spot.
in a reasonable way.
Does it have parking? I thought they had one over there.
That's, could be something that the board asks the applicant if he's willing to potentially do.
Yeah, we could approach DPW with that request. It would, I believe it would be
Yeah,
within their
one in front of the
jurisdiction.
place, yeah, because you have parking in front of the, that's the city parking.
Yeah, that's their gosh.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, this is kind of shifting a little, but this theater isn't gonna be managed and run, it's gonna be rented out for events? Is the theater, is it gonna have internal management that will put on events, or is it just gonna be leased for events?
No, Josh, you can speak to this more detail, but it will be managed by a company who will then lease it out for events, but they will run, host, put on the events.
Okay, but they're not, it's just, so it's gonna be dependent on people leasing it for events. They're not gonna do any of their own events.
I believe, well, Josh, do you know the answer to that?
The answer to your question is yes, the goal. They will curate events. And they will also, it'll be available to rent out and use.
Just to piggyback off of, Jenny's question. So in the event of, let's just say there's a snowstorm in the winter time, who is responsible for cleaning up the the area where the area gonna be, will it be the city that's responsible for snow removal, or will it be the private, the company?
It would be on the applicant.
Yeah, and they'll be responsible for snow removal.
Yes.
On our
On the
property.
sidewalks, yeah, I mean.
On the
city
sidewalks
plows
and
streets.
the city property, Long Alley would still be the responsible of the city committee.
So if any patron potentially suffers any injury due to slip, on the ice, then the applicant will be liable for any injury. I mean, just legally speaking.
Yeah, if it happens on
On your
private property, that is the liability of the owner and operator.
I have a question. There is a commercial kitchen that's associated with this. Is the idea to potentially have like weddings and, you know, those kind of events at it? Or what's the idea of the commercial kitchen? How does that function with a theater?
Sorry, I mean, it would essentially complement events that are going on there, so prior to an event, that would be sort of an area to gather, maybe they present some simple food options, things of that nature.
Speaking as someone who just got married this summer, having an on-site kitchen for my caterer is great.
So it's gonna have an on-site kitchen and a restaurant.
I believe there was a restaurant.
Yes, a restaurant there. So that kitchen has nothing to do with the restaurant, you're saying?
The restaurant would be, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding the restaurant would be operational during events.
Correct.
It's not just I can go to this restaurant.
Okay, so the kitchen is for that restaurant purpose, and when you rent the venue, you get the restaurant, then the kitchen comes with it if you wanna put your own food.
Yeah, the kitchen prepares the food for the eating space that's tied to the.
But it's not an ongoing restaurant, so it's for rent.
Yeah,
Or is
correct.
it like a cafe, like when you go to the theater and you can get snacks, there'll always be a restaurant?
No.
No, you said it won't
Always by the same operator.
Yes, always by the same operator. You can't, if there's not an event there, you can't just walk in and grab a bite to eat.
But if there's an event there, you have to use who's there, or you can bring in your own people to cook.
I'm not sure that's been fleshed out yet. I mean, I know a lot of, and we can address this, I know a lot of type similar options. If you want it catered somewhere else, you can use the kitchen, the caterer to prepare. But it's my understanding that the food would be cooked on site and served to guests.
it's
So
sort
that's-
of.
That's something we had asked you when you came here, when you first came. What is this? Can you identify what you're doing, what's happening? We want to have a clear vision of what's going to happen in those 3 spots. And we're talking about, right? We're talking about a restaurant, we're talking about a theater, and then a kitchen.
Well, I think it's defined in the uses in the code as one use, and I think it's for good reason. I think the best way to describe it is, let's play out an evening at the theater here. So we go into the theater, we're gonna see a show. You wanna get food at the theater, you wanna get drinks at the theater, you enjoy it at the theater, you watch the show. And there's your night, and that's how it's likely to play out.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna chime in again and say, it's not a very big kitchen. It's really like a large catering kitchen or something you could do soup and sandwiches out of. You're not gonna be having a banquet hall in there with that kitchen.
How many square feet? I'm just curious. Do you have a?
2,100 square feet for the restaurant bar area.
And the kitchen, don't know the kitchen itself.
Oh, the kitchen is included?
Walter, that's a Walter question.
Oh, Walter?
That's a small one.
Yeah. The kitchen's in there.
Yeah.
Included in the 2,100 square feet?
I don't have that drawing open, but I believe that is correct. I think the kitchen's like 500 square feet maybe.
Okay.
Walter, do you think you can provide floor plans for what's going on inside the building?
Absolutely. I'll send those with the other drawings.
No, this is
Yeah,
not
I
really.
mean, I think also, I wanna encourage the board to focus on the site plan, the interior floor plans are really more of a building permit, fire code evaluation.
But it's how it operates. the
Yeah,
impact,
and we do better with
the
visual.
outside.
Again, not a building question, but just more of a public engagement, and public interest question. Would you guys be having, for not-for-profit, would you guys have like a different rate for not-for-profits to make it accessible for local community groups to use the facility?
I think that's something that has not been discussed yet.
Okay.
Certainly that comes outside of the planning board for.
Yeah, I'm just This is for public.
You know, I understand, but we can provide,
We are a planning board made up of all residents, so they actually, anything can come out of my mouth.
Why would mine?
Okay, so, we still got a couple things, on this, not to move into public hearing right now, but let's see the rendering.
So do you want-
what's going on.
Classify it and get it
Yes,
circulated?
we would like to do that tonight.
Okay. So it's resolution to classify the action, declare intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated seeker review. So now therefore be it resolved, the planning board hereby, one, classifies the project as an unlisted action under secra. Two, declares its intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated seeker review of the project. And three, directs its secretary to send notice of its intent to all involved and interested agencies. And we have Columbia County Department of Health, there's that lead permit, Hudson Department of Public Works. I added the zoning board of appeals just in case an issue comes up. I don't think it will, but this way it's done, and Hudson County Council.
Is the probation department, somebody has to be contacted, is this a county building or a county agency? Are they within the,
Within 500 feet
yeah,
of, need a referral, so that is a good question. I don't.
It's not within 500 feet.
No, no.
City
Well,
boundary.
you know,
It's
many of-
not within 500 feet from the DOT road because the city owns all of the roads in the Hudson. What are the other?
If it's the county buildings trip us up sometimes because they're.
If it's
spread
within
out.
500 feet of a county road.
Yeah, it's on
So,
Sixth, it's on Sixth Street.
Why don't we make a motion to authorize Linda to send it to county
Yes.
planning if required?
Yeah, yeah, that's
And then we can
right.
do it.
So can I get a motion to, for this resolution for sequel
I make,
for, 7/24, 7/26, first by Randall. Second. Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Do we need?
Bettina, are you all in favor?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed.
Then we need a motion to authorize the planning board secretary to refer the application to the county planning department, as if required.
Can I get a motion to authorize the planning secretary? That's, second? Kevin, all in favor? Bettina, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. So that's not a resolution,
I mean, that was a motion.
just a motion, right? Okay, thank you. We'll see you next month.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna see the drawings for it.
Yeah,
See the
no,
rendering.
Well,
They're
can
gonna-
you pull them up
they're
now?
gonna put them on a portal.
Yeah, we'll.
They're gonna put them on the next one.
Yeah, we only just received the comment. I guess for, maybe for best practice, is this applicant good on escrow? Or
Yes.
do we have escrow?
Yes, you do have escrow.
Right on mine.
Moving forward.
You know, you do have escrow, but, I'm gonna ask that we call this 7/24 7/26 because we got two 7/26s here.
So that isn't that this one, 726?
Yes, this one.
Yeah, yeah.
7/24, so it won't confuse me. Yes, you're good, escrow. You're good? Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for paying it and, we have a good financing.
I think with that's too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you all for your time.
okay, next application, 10-12 Warren Street. Now we have an owner as Ben Rizzo. Okay, he's the owner. And the applicant, right? Okay. Okay, applicant to renovate and expand existing three-story building to a hotel. Go ahead.
Good evening, Charlie Gottlieb, Land Use Council for the applicant, here with Jen Crawford, a project engineer, representing Madison Property Management. Here to renovate and additions to a vacant former daycare facility at 10-12 Warren Street into a 27-room hotel. Let's see. I know this has been before the planning board
Yeah.
previously,
First time
long ago. I was not involved at that point.
Well, they only came one time.
One time.
One time.
And so we have, submitted a response to comments as well as a short environmental assessment form and updated the application. So we're here this evening to gain comments from the planning board. We do have a, review letter, that we can discuss and try to answer any questions here this evening. And Jen can walk you through the plans to refresh your recollection of this project.
I think you'll be some, I didn't look at it, but did they submit a parking? No.
They did not submit a parking.
Because when y'all were here before, we had talked about parking, because you're gonna have 5 spaces or 4, which is
It
it?
was fun.
5 spaces with 1 for
We,
ADA.
have moved the ADA space to be on the street because there were limitations to comply with ADA slope limitations of the ramp to go get from the back to the front. So the updated version has the parking, the ADA spot on the.
On the street, so it's gonna be 5 regular parking spaces. And
Four.
4.
Why don't you come up here?
There's 4.
So this is Justin, one of our staff engineers, is learning how to words operate, but he's been working on this project quite a bit.
We're gonna yell at anyone, yell at anyone.
I see that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on-site spaces, and then
And the hotel's gonna have 27 rooms.
And then 188, okay.
right, and it's, you know, compared to other projects, really close to the train station and the public lot near the train station. As a motel, or as a hotel, it's in a really ideal spot within the city for, visitors.
But this borders the church, Shallow Baptist Church.
Next to the church.
Okay.
And they're making, changes to Front Street and parking. If you notice,
With the DRI.
yeah, the parking is in a scout type of thing now.
Maybe I should.
Right, so they're taking away parking.
I think they just put islands in to force the parking, so the exits is not very fine.
Oh,
So, but you also have a common wall, right? With Shiloh,
no.
or is it separated?
Yeah, it's slightly separated.
Oh, it is, that's right, it ends and it's maybe 4 feet.
With fence.
But there was a question
Now, what
about
was
Shadow.
the footprint of the building and are you increasing the footprint?
We are increasing the footprint, we're not trying to argue that it's a type 2 action, it's increasing that.
And
So
you-
how much are you increasing the footprint by?
Right here, so existing to be renovated is about 1,530 square feet, and then new construction is 1,750 square feet.
That's in plan view, times multiple stories, the gross.
So,
floor area
but
is similar.
my question is the actual footprint that is being increased is how many square feet?
What Justin just said.
Was it 200?
1,750 square feet of new construction.
But you're saying that's, I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. You're saying that that's multiple stories, or you're saying that is the footprint on the ground?
That's the footprint on the ground.
Okay,
How are you
so that's
increasing it?
becoming from the backyard that exists now, you're putting another 1,000 square feet on the property.
1,700, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The entire property is gonna be pretty much hardscape impervious.
Right,
Right.
and this came up before.
Yes.
Do you have to go to the historic society for this?
So the building is historic,
Mhm.
so we are working with the State Historic Preservation Office.
Okay.
They have requested what's known as the Phase 1A, Phase 1B archaeological report. So we are retaining a consultant to complete that report. And once it's completed, we'll certainly forward it to SHPO, or we'll also provide it to the planning board.
Would that be better that they go through them first?
I think you can do it concurrently.
If we're doing secra, then it could be done concurrently, because you wanna wait for their opinion before.
Yes, exactly.
So it, typically how it works with secret, and the intent of secret is to kind of organize all the agencies together to make sure everyone's in the loop. So we'll do the review concurrently, but certainly until the historic impacts are assessed by the State Historic Preservation Office, I wouldn't suggest that this planning board take action, because we need to mitigate.
I wouldn't suggest.
Right, well, it's even crazier if I said.
We can increase it.
So
About all historical impacts, but you can analyze it. Thank you.
what kind of a timeline are you looking for that to be completed?
So I'm just going on, and correct me if you guys have any difference, but it'll probably take, let's say, 3 weeks to do the report. Submit to SHPO. I would suspect we get comments back from SHPO.
No, but from the preservation, from the state preservation, they come on site to do stuff?
There's a
No,
process to go through. They've got a file called a phase 1A and a phase 1B
Oh,
report.
so nobody comes out and,
An archaeologist that we hired
Yes.
would come out.
okay,
Do that.
and so you think that's gonna happen within 30 days?
No,
No,
That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think the archaeologist, and I believe we're in talks with Hudson Cultural Services, Beth Selling. Typically she would come out certainly within 30 days, to start to draft a report and do the necessary research. I would expect her report to be done in 30 days. We then submit it to this board and to SHPO. SHPO would probably take 30 days to give us comments or their blessing.
Okay. I wasn't sure what was involved with it.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter.
best case is probably 2 months.
But
It could go up to 3 or 4, or more, depending.
I didn't know if you had to wait for the ground to thaw.
Oh, that's
so,
a good question.
I mean, you also need to go to the Historic Preservation Commission though, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a landmark,
Correct.
yeah, okay, so, but you're gonna get through SHPO first.
Yep, and I think by going through the SHPO process, we'll be gathering the information that the HPC would want to see as well.
Yeah,
We'll definitely get some renderings of this. It's not look like.
Well, I mean, my understanding is that, Walter's, going to great lengths to preserve the existing look. So I don't know how much of the front is going to look different at all.
What I did see,
Mentioned
it
it.
seems like they're gonna have a stairway coming above the lower deck
You mean in the back?
on the front.
In the front.
The front, from what I can tell, is gonna pretty much stay the same. There's 2 existing entrances. The entrance to the west is getting eliminated, and they're maintaining the entrance to the right. On the right,
Looking at the building.
correct, on the right side of the building, they're providing a ramp up to provide ADA access into the building, because right now there's currently stairs.
Yeah,
So it's not ADA accessible. It's not necessarily a ramp you're gonna see, it's just gonna look like the concrete's going up, and Jen, you can
So,
clarify.
so I would just again chime in, thank you. So the original block is gonna be pretty much as it is. As Christian said, we're not touching that when you go down Warren Street, because the church and the building next to it block it. You really won't see the changes we're proposing. They're behind. There is, Jenny, to your question, there are now two-story wings off the back that are very old and very decrepit. And we're going to take both of those down, but we're going to keep the facade of the one across from the church. So the original facade of the brick building will be retained on that side all the way down to where it stopped, and then the wood siding would pick up after that. So it hopefully from Warren Street and from the public view on that side, no one would have an idea that there's an addition behind.
Now, the green space that's in between where the tree is, between that building on the opposite side of Shiloh, is that owned by your client, or is that the other building? There's a little green.
That's our courtyard.
That's
That's-
that's your
Can you
courtyard.
picture the fence?
Yeah,
Property line is just to the African side of the existing fence there.
okay. And that's gonna, and is that gonna remain green space?
It's not gonna be remain green, well, for a portion of it, so this back portion is grass area. We put a ramp in, for ADA. purposes.
And you can maintain that one, they're not changing it.
okay, that's the good part that they're maintaining, this is a beautiful building.
Yeah, you don't want to see buildings like this lie vacant for too long.
I didn't even know it was vacant. That's nice.
When did the daycare close?
Where's the daycare? The city sold
Years.
it.
I think before COVID, by
It was-
COVID, during COVID.
I think I saw a structural report from around 2019 that the city did right when they were selling it, I believe, that sounds right.
And the height is gonna be the same, you're not gonna do anything by raising it higher in the back.
So we had proposed on our recent submission an elevator that goes to the roof.
That definitely has to be approved by the historic.
So we're actually giving the comments we got on the engineering consultant letter, that would be a added story. And therefore we'd be above the height limitations. The applicant is willing to take that off the elevator shaft down to reduce the height of the building.
So that'll create, even if there's no cover, you were gonna have a cover on the roof?
No,
Walter, could you explain what the elevator, rooftop access was to the
Well,
board?
originally it was just so, people could get up there and get on the roof, if there was fireworks on the river or they wanted to go up and look at the river, because you can see the river from up there. That seems to be an issue. So if we don't take the elevator penthouse to the roof and we only take one stair up to the roof, the only thing that would go above the height limitation would be the elevator penthouse and one stair penthouse, both of which are permitted, I think. Christian can verify that. And then, just in general, I'd like to say, and I'm sorry, I guess I don't think about the fact that you all don't work with the elevations. The proposal is not higher than the existing building. We're not it'll be bigger in the back because there's nothing there and we're putting something there, but it is basically the existing building just projected backwards with a courtyard in the middle.
It might be a variance, Walter, that you wanna go, potentially get. Pretty easy to get probably the terrace. And I think they might be favorable to it.
I think as long as you don't see it from Orange.
Correct, and it's not like it's a full height, it's just a balcony. So it might be
Okay.
some.
Because there are homes that are that high that have a.
Yeah, and you're already going for the parking space variance and reducing it, correct? I think these are 9 by 18.
we can double check.
I think
You might be
9 by 18.
going in front of them anyways if you're getting.
Yeah, so you might as well just go before them and try to get the variance.
So right now in the front, they have 1, 2, 3.5 stories, right? And in the back, they're gonna have a full 4 stories. So they're gonna go down, correct? Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but you're gonna tear down there's a two-story building in the back, right, behind the main building. Is that
There is
correct?
some demo, yeah.
So you're gonna take that out, remove that, and then you're just gonna build a solid four-story building?
4-story different.
Okay.
We have.
Well, it's 3.5
Basement.
in the front.
With the basement,
With the basement, right, but
Yeah.
so the 3 stories would be the same height as
the front of the.
right.
Right.
And I think the back, just the extra story is in the bottom, because I think it goes, the slants down.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be recessed in.
Yeah.
So when you park in the back, the basement level is gonna be down, 4 feet,
You look at that.
plus or minus.
Is that excavation gonna be an issue for the church?
I think it's that way
So
already,
they can
isn't it?
sheet it, and I don't see that being a problem.
Is it excavation or is it that way already?
No, they got.
No, they're gonna have to excavate,
I think it's that way already.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
but they can sheet pile, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay,
That won't be a problem for anybody.
No,
well, yeah, you have to do that because the church is an old.
it's done all the time in cities.
So that's just part of the requirements from the building department?
The sheet piling and stuff, yeah, they'll take care of that during the building.
And we're gonna need a construction staging, where you're gonna have that, where you're gonna stage that, so that you don't disrupt that whole area.
Should have foreseen that comment. I'm disappointed on myself.
We have that area at the back where we're gonna put the parking. That's a perfect place to put it.
Well, let us see it, so to make sure you don't have to close this, well, you probably will have to close the street.
Absolutely,
Yeah, too, but,
at some point, they have bulldozers and excavators and,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the access
There'll be
is
a
gonna
lot.
come in from the alley, because most of the actual excavation work is in the back, not the front.
but you're gonna disrupt water lines and things like, obviously, you'll be able to give the city.
Yeah, we're
Notice it.
coordinating with the city on sewer extension, just, as with the others, and we kind of learned some new info today about stormwater expectations that we can talk about separately.
Is there water usage gonna now go to, I was gonna,
They're gonna increase more usage on site, so they will have to, prepare an engineering sewer and water report, on stormwater, the site.
And they definitely have to come back with what, we have to first see what the historic preservation says about their additions.
will they need to connect to the sewer and it, because with our current discharge rates, this is gonna exceed. Obviously.
I don't know what their connection pipe is it a 4-inch coming out, or is it a 6-inch?
6 inch.
Okay.
So we've got it being separate at the parking line and then coming in,
Yeah.
in the alley to connect to one proposed structure, but we still need to coordinate that with the DPW.
Yeah, and Brock did mention to me that he'd like to see manholes on the property line, separating sewer and storm, or at least one for the storm. So the storm goes out to a manhole. and
We've got a structure, yeah, we've got a manhole structure one, he's asking.
For the property line,
Oh, he wants one right here.
so that when they come through, when they do a sewer separation, they can just separate it right there and have an easy time point for future.
So you guys have a lot of work on this. So you just want, you have a lot of work on this, and I don't think you're gonna get it done in the holidays, so maybe you should be back in March.
March seems everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of engineering.
No, I think they should have it for February.
Okay, but definitely.
I mean, SHPO is really the lead time item, I think,
Yeah.
more so than the engineering.
I can say right now that it's going to be tough to do reviews before the next meeting
Mm-hmm,
with all the holidays. but
right, so maybe February, okay, so.
February is.
And what we'll do is, the second the historic report comes in, we can make a submission with the historic report, as well as addressing comments and questions last night.
All right, so we'll see you in probably February.
And you guys have a plan for stormwater runoff, because obviously, as you talked about before now, you're getting rid of a lot of the green space.
Yeah, we're going to look at that. We had previously been under the impression that the city did not regulate increases in volume to stormwater. This was what has been told to us by the DPW. We're learning that it's an evolving situation, and so, we gotta look at that and get back to you guys.
Any more questions?
Just out of curiosity, so the additions that are gonna be replacing the old additions, what is that space being used for?
This is a hotel. The
No,
whole
I
thing.
know it's a hotel, but what's the old structure being used? Are they all rooms
It's
or?
all hotel rooms. Yeah, maybe just a lobby.
27 rooms.
It's just, the only use is hotel.
Okay. No, I know that, but it's basically rooms, yeah. So-
Yeah.
So you'll submit the more intricate plans?
They have detailed floor plans on the,
Okay, I have to
submission.
look at that.
so if you look through, it'll show you all
Oh,
the rooms and how they're
okay.
oriented. There's a
Okay.
courtyard that's in the middle of the building. That's recessed
Okay,
down.
yeah, I remember
Outside
Walter
space.
mentioning that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll review that again. Thank you.
Now, what I would do next is, are they gonna have is it gonna be a 24-hour, or are you gonna have an attendant? Did they say that or
I don't know specifically how they're going to run it.
Oh,
Honestly,
that's-
we're focused on site plan. They could do it one way, realize they need to change exactly how they staff it later.
The applicant, Ben Renzo, did mention that he has, and this board has reviewed and approved his hotels in the past.
not? Which hotel is that?
Whaler.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
him?
Yep, and, they'll be operated in the same manner.
So it's like a
Which means-
self-serve.
Yes, exactly, self-serve, in a sense.
Are they gonna be connected at all, or they're just separate entities? From the.
Separate hotels.
Okay.
So right now, that'll
So
mean
there's
he
no
has, he'll have
kitchens
three.
or anything like
Correct.
that.
Isn't that-
Whaler, Navigator, this one.
I don't think so.
No.
That's
Oh, that's a new one.
You know,
The mayor.
you know, so
Maybe this is
and Hudson out of the 5.
Navigator, Mariner,
Nest is separate.
Nest, I think is separate. Mariner.
The Whaler.
The one, they're the
I
one
think
up.
this is Airport.
So he has one right, he's the one that has the one right up the block from him,
I think.
from, this one,
I
like
don't.
811. Yeah.
Underside blue shutters, yes.
Right.
What's happening where the old?
The same gentleman that has, the one, he just came, what, last year, the year before last? With the, it was it 11 rooms or 8 rooms?
Where the Savoy used to be.
No, it's on Warren, right in the middle of the block. You guys weren't here,
Where you made them put in a phone line.
yeah.
I remember those meetings, we were doing the.
I remember.
District amendment.
And telephone numbers and stuff, okay. All right, thank you. Any more questions on the board?
Okay, so I have a resolution if you're ready to classify and start circulation.
Yeah, we voted on it.
No, that was for the
That
last.
was for the last
application.
one, that was for, the last one.
Oh, you mean the secret regular, you're right.
It's the same people, so we can.
Yes.
Did,
Wait, let me get to my.
I thought last time you just.
It was just confirmed.
Yeah, okay.
You have a resolution for unlisted action?
Yeah, so resolution classifying the action under seeker, declaring intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated review, 1012 Warren Street Hotel.
Okay.
So then I said, I had the applicant with eco-friendly 81 Halsey Development, you said someone else today.
Yeah, Madison Property Management,
Okay, that's the applicant.
yes. I can confirm that for you when we get back, but that's the information I have.
Okay,
So I think that it said his name. So when we want to send information, who do we send it to?
and send it to Charlie.
Charlie.
Okay, so, now therefore be resolved, the planning board hereby classifies the project as an unlisted action under SECR, declares its intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated SECR review. And 3, directs its secretary to send notice of its intent to serve as lead agency to all involved and interested agencies. We have, SHPO, Columbia County Department of Health, the Department of Public Works, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay. So can I get,
I was gonna say, do you wanna add that in case we're near a county building part as
You
well?
Okay, so I'll add number 4.
yeah, because right across the street is the county, then.
Authorizes.
Yes, that
Right across the street, they just.
they just bought it.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
so it wasn't on, okay. And
Thank you.
authorizes its secretary to refer the project to the Columbia County Planning Board, pursuant to 239M of the General Municipal Law. So that was number 4, so it's all in the resolution now.
Okay. So, can I get a motion to adapt that resolution? Who's first, Jenny?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
and we'll be uploading these resolutions to multi-cart.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you so much.
so we don't send them out anymore, we just upload them, so, and I think you get notice.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah.
Okay, we send notification. All right, thank you very much.
Jen, if you're gonna submit anything and you want it for the meeting, try to get it earlier than later. I have, I'm gonna go staff.
Oh, because of the holiday? Oh,
We all, yeah.
that was very quick.
I mean, it's an awkwardly placed Christmas and an awkwardly placed New Year's.
Yeah, Christmas on Thursday.
A lot of things.
Good this year.
Well, I love it when you can make it a long weekend. Anyway.
And,
Thank you,
also,
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I wanted to mention about our hard stop policy that we had adopted last month. The planning board adopted a hard stop policy where we will be, stopping our meetings at 9 PM every night from 6:30 to 9. So that means any applications, other than public hearings, if we're not finished the public hearings, we have to continue until they're through. But, and then everything else will go on next month's meeting and we'll make that, no, everything else will go on the next meeting of that same month. And we'll make that date at the time.
Or you'd make like a second meeting. of-
Yes, we'll make a second meeting of the month, just to, go through things that was on the agenda prior, so it's
Right.
on, cause, you know, we just get too tired to stay here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
so the stop will be at 9 o'clock, but we'll make all the decisions after that. So we'll still be here until about 9:15, something like that, okay? And we're gonna approve the bills have to be approved that month, at that time.
Thank you, happy holidays.
Got this from Jean.
Yeah, then you're here.
Do you wanna request, I don't know which one of you, you've already requested, or things you have them. These are all, how much money are owed on escrow or some of these. I mean, maybe we can do a special meeting next time to deal, just to vote on this stuff.
Oh, well, Senator, I think he sent it to everybody. Jean just
No,
sent
he
it.
only sent it to you.
Oh, resolutions to, can I get a motion to approve any resolution that we need for, to establish or, no, to replenish escrow? Because right now we're running behind an escrow. It was a miscommunication where Jean, as of January first, will be taking control of all escrow. Anything to do with escrow will be Jean.
Doesn't that the case now?
Establish, replenish, anything, balance, everything will be Jean. Before he was doing part of it, I was doing part of it.
I see.
I wasn't talking to him, he wasn't talking to me, so things were getting duplicated and some things were not getting done at all. Because I'm thinking he should do it, he think I should do it, so it wasn't getting done. So we corrected that and starting January, Jean will be taking care of escrow, any correspondence or communication will go to him. But right now, he
I'm
has,
sending you the emails.
he has quite a few, escrow accounts that need to be replenished.
So I make a blanket,
A blanket motion to,
motion
right, so
to
you get them out.
execute any sort of resolution, adjustments needed,
So-
as needed.
It's hard, some of these may have already been requested and just not paid, like Fairview,
Okay,
but let me just read them for the record. So 612 Hudson is 974 short.
Okay.
309, 311 is $287 short. 47 North Seventh is 200 short because there's no escrow. Colarusso, 1597 short, 601 Union, 7,142 short. Mill Street Lofts,
That's
5,000.
601?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're very behind and we approved it. Mill Street Lofts is 5,386 short.
so, oh, wow.
We approved it, but they don't have a letter.
So, no, I mean, that project's been approved, but they won't get the site plan signed until they pay up.
Okay, send that to all of us, cause I didn't get it.
So I think the resolution should be to request additional escrow to replenish in the initial amount requested. Because they're all gonna be different. Some of these will need more and some of them will need less. Or to round up to the,
Well, as I say, the motion would be for him to adjust whether that be replenishment, whether payment or replenishment
Yeah,
as needed.
like 601 is how far behind?
7,000.
Right, and
So, and they have not gone through the final review.
So you probably need
Right.
10,
Let's see.
12.
yeah,
or 10.
10, yeah, depends on how many.
yeah, so the motion would be that the planning board is gonna give us permission to go ahead and do them.
But do we want to let Jean know to send out to ask for 12 now, since you haven't?
See, that's gonna have to be decided, but we want to ask the planning board, can we have permission?
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead,
here's
make
part
those
of the
decisions.
problem with some of this is I submit supplements to Teresa requesting money. And
Right,
I don't know if those supplements correlate with the escrows that are being requested.
no,
It's just basically the city of Hudson, I say, I need another $10,000, they keep reviewing it, and that keeps us going.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's $10,000 in escrow to pay my
exactly.
invoices.
Yeah, I took them as meaning that that you're saying this is what this project's gonna cost. And the plan, and we're signing to say, yes, you will get paid either through escrow, and if we don't get the escrow.
Correct, and you really should have those correlate back and forth so that if I've got, let's say $15,000 in supplements,
Mhm.
the amount in escrow should be $15,000.
That's what I'm saying, since we're towards the end of the year,
Mhm.
why not give Jean that information, since we have Christian here and we know how much is needed or a guesstimate to share that information now.
Well, that's what we're doing, but we need a resolution approved by the planning board to say that we can.
But not
that's
only
what
that
we're
you
trying
can,
to
but
do.
I think that it should be a priority that we should try to have a final balance on the account. I don't wanna go into the new year with balances if you don't need to.
You're gonna have to, because the bills for today are not gonna come in until January.
Well, I'm just saying, the bills before, up to November, from November to December.
Okay,
You don't have a negative balance, you wanna be positive.
Exactly. December on, I get it, because there are new files and it just, the turnover time.
Yeah.
But as of November, we should have clean balances.
Well, you could make a resolution to say, we want to request to clean up the negative balances, plus, you know, maybe you put $1,000 or $2,000 more into it.
Right.
And put a letter saying that, you know, these are just temporary until we figure out what we're gonna need to finish these projects up.
Right. Yeah, but
So what is the resolution?
Can they do that?
So, well, right, it's so hard to know, because this is a case by case, I still think you should do a fee schedule, but instead of doing resolutions every time.
But
But
have to do resolutions for restaurant?
the city wants.
And we'd like them too, because that tells us, you know, kind of it's a tracking system.
But who serves as the collection point or?
The city treasurer collects the money and keeps track of it, but she only pays when you authorize her to pay, and right now the situation was that you guys had bills, but they weren't getting added to the escrow balance because no one sent them to the city treasurer.
Okay, yeah, what was happening, after every meeting, I would go home and send Tracy an email that said all bills were approved. Okay, and then I think she took them to the common council for approval, and then they go to the treasurer for payment.
Mm.
Somewhere along the line, I stopped sending those emails to Tracy. Cause I was the impression maybe Jean was doing it.
Gotcha, so it's a
Yeah.
miscommunication, right?
So the communication was not being given to Tracy, and Jean had a meeting with them where it came out that because they were not getting that information, they were not submitting the bills.
So are you able to call a special meeting sometime in the next few days where we can actually sit down, identify whether, you know, whether you should be
Can we do
asking
it by
for,
Zoom?
no,
Oh, okay.
Right on.
planning board cannot meet. You have to have a
Just for
forum in
that?
public, no. Because then this way you could just say, we vote this, and this, and then, or you can do a blanket resolution right now, we could say.
I love the blanket resolution.
Right.
Let's do the blanket.
Right, to clear any negative balance
Right.
along with, you know.
Yeah, whatever,
Replenish.
yeah,
Right.
we'd rather do, and then all the resolutions will have the first and the second person on.
But my question is, who is authorized to do the collection? I mean, the city said, she says the bill, the collection, meaning I sent you a bill, now I have to send you a second bill and I need someone to collect and verify we're getting that money in.
Sends a second.
What do you mean?
No one, we're supposed to take them off the agenda when they get behind, and that's the leverage to get them to pay their
Oh, so
escrow.
no one sends them a reminder?
What was it?
Yeah.
I don't.
When a bill is unpaid, you don't send them a reminder in 30 days?
Well, that was something that Jean and I were looking at. In other words, we would
And can
go.
we charge interest on the amount that we paid out?
No, we were going by what was the balance of their, every month. Jean would ask for, me or Jean would ask for a copy of the running balance of the escrow accounts. See how many we have? And we would look at it to see if there was low, negative, okay? Now, but sometimes it did not include bills that were pending, because we don't have any control over when the bills are paid.
See, this is what I mean, like, this meeting has to take place with the treasurer as well, I think, in the room, so you can close the circle.
I don't think it's the treasure, I really think it's the process. The process
No, but
is.
so you can know immediately, is this bill pending, has it been paid?
Oh, we know
She
which
received it.
bills have not been paid yet, because they were just all sent to her today.
Right.
Yeah.
We know what was not being paid.
Well, I want to know,
That,
but I want
because
to
that
know.
came out of a meeting with the treasurer and the clerk, with Jean. What bills had not been paid. But I don't know if we would have known if Jean didn't have that meeting. I can't tell you.
But as of right now, I think the planning board is giving you and Jean the authority to clean it up. And to take care of any negative balances.
Plus 2,000, and then we'll.
Figure it out.
And then we'll
Figure it
figure
out.
out, right.
Is there anything we don't want to put $2,000 on?
Yeah, what is 47 North Seventh? Is that the Thai restaurant?
Yeah, that's the time of so.
Yes.
Okay,
47? Yeah, 40, it's not 47, 43, 47.
But then they haven't even come before us, so.
there must have
It is
just been a review
today.
fee, I would only set that one at
It's
500.
41-43, which.
So I don't know what 47 North Seventh is.
We could probably go
That's
back
North
to
Center.
run through what
Okay,
we're
you
gonna.
wanna do this right now?
Okay. Let's just start spitting
I
more,
don't
bring
know.
that back up.
Okay.
What are
Okay, 612 Hudson, we're working through the legal documents, they're about $1,000 short.
Okay, I have the latest, the one that's dated, so I sent everybody a copy, so if you have your computer. you
This is
know
the one
what's-
we should go by, because
Okay.
this includes the bills that are,
Okay, so 6-12, this is what you're talking?
yeah,
Okay. This is what we're saying they have.
no, we're saying they have this, not, they're short
Oh.
974.82.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, now this is the balance I'm holding on to that's dated 12/9/2024, but it's not correct.
Because it doesn't account for September,
But if we-
October, and November.
We've just had a resolution to authorize it. Do we still need to go through all of them with all of us here?
Oh,
We
I
haven't
mean,
had
I was gonna go through individually, but if you wanna say everything,
We wanna give
up
a
to date,
blanket.
plus 2,000,
Exactly.
and then we'll work it out.
Okay, so we don't have to go through it.
No,
You're just giving us a blank.
Well,
absolutely.
every item, as I've already read, to be brought to zero plus 2,000 additional.
Yeah,
And then more specific amounts will be set in the new year.
yeah.
Correct.
So that's first is Randall, second, Denny? Okay, so that means all the resolutions will have these two in there as first and second, yes,
It's gonna be one resolution.
Yeah, one resolution.
okay.
And everyone's in favor, aye.
Everyone in favor?
Yeah.
Right, okay, good. So I wanna get a resolution now to,
But let me just ask this,
what?
can we have, and I don't know what department that would be, but it seems to me as we keep accumulating these invoices, especially at this point, since we're backed up, we do need a point person to be able to not only identify what's owed, but then actively seek what's owed, and do we have the authority to charge interest? Because this is money that we're laying out to consultants.
You're not laying it
No, we're
out.
I
not,
think we
They
just
don't get paid,
You don't
but
get
we
paid.
get paid.
So
sorry.
you don't work until you get the money.
No, what happens is the applicants give the escrow amount.
Right.
So let's say Joe Smith comes in and wants to review his package. You guys request escrow, that goes into the treasurer, $10,000.
No, I get that.
We submit our bills into the city.
Right.
They use that $10,000 to pay our bills.
And when that money is done, you stop.
No,
Well, we are supposed to stop, but there's always a delay between when we find out it's depleted and when we stop work. So what happens is we end up holding those bills, we just.
Well, that's my point then.
Yeah,
Right, so then at that point,
we
that's,
should be
that's,
working.
yeah.
right.
Yes.
And starting January, Jean has volunteered to take on that particular duty with backup me.
But what really needs to happen is there needs to be a correlation between my contract and Victoria's contract with those dollar figures that we put out and what's in escrow. So that if we're saying we've got $15,000 out in a contract, escrow needs to be $15,000. Right now, what's happening,
She doesn't do what you do.
oh, she doesn't?
No, you do the tax contract, the agreements, but she doesn't.
Yeah, we have that, Barton Judas needs a number to say, we're gonna work up to $10,000 and then we're gonna stop.
Can we work up the same document list, like a Google Doc, so some sort of shared document? So
No,
what
he
you're
sent it
looking
to me, I
at,
just
So
never
I was
sent it to
saying
anybody.
I have a spreadsheet that shows all the supplements and what fees I'm up to as far as each project, how much, and I can send that along to you guys.
but I'm saying, it would be great if that was in real time, if that
Yeah, so
document was
like
always.
an active document.
Every time, yeah, every time I update a contract,
Yeah, sure, but it's also.
A shared updated document, so that whenever they look at that document, that reflects your latest invoice and it shows what the
latest
status is.
contract,
Latest tax agreement.
tax agreement,
Yeah, what was happening, he was sending them
So.
and we were approving them, but we were not correlating it. with-
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we have one document
Yeah.
or a shared document, that will
Okay.
never happen again.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
And I can share mine with you guys, and you just gotta incorporate it, and Victoria's gotta figure a way to get her money into escrow too.
And there's no way through the software that we created.
No, it's not that, it's not that, it's more
So
customer
there's
facing.
no way that the applicant can know where they stand in real time.
what do you mean by that?
The applicant can know financially how.
Oh,
much
they
is
can,
left.
they can request their balance.
Not
from
on
the
any
treasurer.
given day,
Yeah,
monthly.
yeah, they can request their balance from the treasurer.
Right,
And I think they can request all of the bills from the clerk.
Well, again, once the document is established, in theory, we would know that, and that information might be available, and it could be a feature that.
Yeah, maybe that's
So you're
Yeah.
saying a shared live document that you can also set for alerts.
So if any
So that
one of
you
you
know.
guys wanna get that document going,
Yeah.
With alerts.
any one of them wanna get the document
We
going?
could probably get Gene to do it since he's gonna do all the bills.
Yeah.
And escrow amounts, he should be responsible on one person doing everything.
Right, cause
Yeah.
two people, we just.
Yeah, but it wouldn't matter if you're working off the same, again, live document.
Live document,
You wanna
because
work with
in the live document, you can hit and you can do an alert function where you can see any new information come in, it'll trigger
Right.
it. Like I have that set up at my office, that if a new client is added to my list and what was existed, it bings, so then I get it directly through email. I know that I've got a new client that's been added to my list.
And I'd love to get
It's a
one
live
document that has a history function.
Yeah,
So you can see over time what has happened, then we can track
it's a
it.
shared live
I
document.
apologize, but I have no idea what you guys
Yeah.
are talking about.
It will allow us to better manage
But
it.
Kylie said he's gonna work with Gene.
Okay,
In other words, Gene will be in charge, but you and him will do it together, like the computer part, you may have to do. If you know what they're talking about.
Well, there's no algebra involved right now.
yeah, it's Excel.
It's Excel, you can do it through Excel and.
And I thank him so much. Is he on for taking this on? Because.
No, it's just Linda.
Yeah. All right, so Gene has been designated as the official, so
Okay.
you can, like, he'll tell you if he needs something,
As long
okay?
as there's no calculus involved.
So do you understand what they're talking about?
Yeah, what's that?
About, somehow it needs to correlate with what I'm doing, with what is in escrow, with what the court is doing.
Right.
Well, the way I understand it, what I wasn't doing, but now, when you send those out, I will make sure Gene gets them and make sure we have escrow for it.
Correct, and you'll see reports, you'll be able to see the reports, you don't have to interact with the numbers, you
Right.
see this is the report.
Right, like before, I wasn't doing that, so, and we wasn't doing that, so now, if you say, okay, this is a $15,000, we look at that, it's gonna say it only has $4,000, we need an increase.
In my guesses,
Right.
you know, maybe it's gonna be another $10,000, like 10 is usually the max, except some of these projects kind of dragging on and on.
Well, they come unprepared, and you do a lot of their work,
Yeah.
okay, and they have to pay for that. And there's no, if I didn't do their work. Well, I mean, well, you tell them things they need to do, and they should have done.
Okay, so what's next?
Okay, so now I wanna get, can I get a motion to approve all the bills that were submitted? I sent them to you.
Yes,
From,
and I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and approve, can I get a motion to approve November minutes? They came to us very quickly, just like we need them, cause the New York State.
The open documents,
document laws.
meetings.
Right,
Yeah.
meeting law should state that we should get them in 10 days, meaning, I think, review, right? Makes sense.
No, they should be made available for public, public request them.
Right, so
I make a
Linda
motion.
has been
You're right.
instructed to put them on as a draft,
Right,
and then we approve them.
thank you, thank you, Linda,
Yeah,
for
we're getting them
doing
to
that,
us,
and I make a
right.
notion.
And I really need-
Motion.
A motion to approve the minutes for November, and can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Any questions from the
I make a
client?
motion.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye, meeting adjourned.
at what time?
8:31.
8:31 PM.
Minute over.
No, we said nine.
Oh, okay.